Well, we are in Jaipur to check this out. It is the Volvo EX30, a 5-door electric SUV with a footprint of a large hatchback, the weight of a planet, and a name that reminds you of a Star Wars side character. It is the most affordable electric SUV from the brand and the smallest one in the lineup. It was designed in Sweden, developed in China, and is now assembled in their Bangalore plant. But more importantly, it was good enough to get the 2023 BBC Top Gear UK Eco Warrior of the Year. But does that mean it's good enough for India? Well, let's find out. Bring that thing over here. I got a $50 bill I'm trying to stick in you. Push it like wall. It kinda tickles in there. I'm feeling tipsy off a pill. Someone get me a beer. I might go. Well, let's start with the obvious. The EX30 doesn't look like your average SUV. It looks clean, minimalistic, modern, and sharp even. It's like a concept car that slipped through and somehow made it onto the roads. It gets the Thor hammer lights, active Vero, and blanked out grille in the front. It gets 19-inch aero-optimized wheels, a frameless mirror, two-tone paint job with a panoramic sunroof up top, a fast charging port right over here, and an overall length of 4.2 meters. Over at the rear, you get the same clean Scandinavian design. You have an aerodynamic diffuser, a split tail lamp setup, Volvo badging, and a electric boot release, which lets you access the 318-liter boot that's right up till here. And if you fill it up all the way like we have, you get almost 400 liters in the boot. But that's not all the space you get, because you get a 7-liter frunk that's perfect to store the charging cable. And speaking of charging, 25 minutes is all you need to charge this completely using a 150 kilowatt hour DC fast charger. But if you want to use the home charger that's provided with the car, the 11 kilowatt hour, it takes around 6 to 7 hours. Checking your range in real world can be done using this floating 12.3-inch screen, because there is no instrument cluster, there is no heads-up display. This is all you get. And this infotainment screen is powered by Qualcomm Snapdragon cockpit platform processor and is running Android OS. So you have Android native apps like your Maps, your Google Assistants, your YouTube. You even have access to the Play Store, so you can download additional apps that you require. And while it does get wireless Apple CarPlay, it doesn't get wireless Android Auto. And when I inquired with Volvo why that is, they say that if you directly log into the infotainment screen using your Gmail account, the user experience is much more easier and friendlier than connecting your Android Auto. Apart from that, 99% of the functions of this car are controlled by this infotainment touchscreen. Even simple things like changing the height of your exterior lights or changing them from automatic to manual, your mirrors, even the glove box has to be accessed through the infotainment screen. There are no buttons over here. Hazard lights, your HVAC control center, everything is from the screen, which in my personal opinion is very counterintuitive, because at the top is the instrument cluster. Now when I'm driving, I have to take my eyes off the road and look over here, and then I can see what speed I'm doing or what average usage of the electricity from the battery I am using, and whatever. Everything happens through here, which becomes a bit confusing. Apart from that, it becomes very complicated for the older generation or the more mature generation, which technically isn't the target market according to Volvo. But even for me, it is complicated from the get-go, and some sort of physical buttons would have been better. Now, having said that, the pros of this is you get a 1040 watt Harman Kardon audio system with 9 speakers, and most of the speakers are placed right in the front of the dashboard, so you get music right from the front, and it's a very different experience. There are no speakers in the front door, which liberates a lot more space, so the door pockets are huge, to be very honest. And if you are watching YouTube videos while the car is being charged, it is an experience like a home theater and is extremely enjoyable. Additionally, you have your storage right over here, which is a modular one. You have cup holders that can retract, and then you have additional storage that you can close. Above that sit your controls for the windows. Now there are only 2 buttons, with a third button that if you tap rear and then use the front buttons, it controls the rear windows, and you can lock and unlock the car from right here. And because this is an EV, there's no central tunnel, but that liberates more space for you to have an additional storage. So you have a bottom tray which has 2 Type-C charging ports, and then you have the cupboard doors that then you can close and have additional storage on top of it. Next to that is the wireless charging pad, which needs to have the NFC key. Now this car doesn't get a physical traditional key with buttons on it. You get 2 NFC cards with your car, and you also have a digital app from Volvo that you can use to lock, unlock or share your key with your loved ones, and that's all you get because this is the new age way apparently. Apart from that, you see the materials on the dashboard used actually are recycled. The ones in the international car that we have seen come with jeans that have been recycled, but the ones that we are driving today has recycled plastic, but overall all sustainable materials all around. Now this is the kind of space you get in the front. You have no under thigh support, but you do get electric seats for the front passengers, and it's a new style of button. It's a cuboidal button with a button right in the center that you keep pressing to toggle through the different aspects of the seat. But having said that, let's get into the back and see if we have any space. Now to give you context, I'm 6 feet 2 inches tall and getting in is a bit tight, and I have absolutely no room. As you can see, my knees are halfway into the seat. The other half is in my chest because the foot floor is so high because of the battery. No under thigh support as expected, no armrest, and to make things even worse, there's no AC vents in the back. And if you think I'm sweating, that's because the sunroof doesn't even get a sunshade. So in a hot day like today in Jaipur, it's not the ideal place to be in.
Only getting started when it's midnight, keeping it tight. If a nigga wanna go to war, it can get dark, but we stay bright. Coming like a night, it's on sight. Ever touch my sleeve? Niggas round there wanna disagree when it's clear that I'm speaking facts. Man like me, you know I'm proactive. Never gonna stop till I see the big man.
Now from behind the wheel, let's get things straight from right away. If you're expecting the EX30 to be a wallowy, soft-edged mess like many other compact TVs, well, you're in for a surprise because I have been pleasantly surprised with this because the chassis is actually excellent. The EX30 rides like a much more expensive car which is well damped, calm and properly settled over broken Indian roads. And when I say broken roads, the pothole-filled highways that Jaipur has to offer. It deals with the Indian tarmac the way a Scandinavian deals with conflict, which is quietly, calmly and without any complaints. There's a proper finesse to the way it handles the surface changes, and the body control is taut without being harsh. The steering is a bit too light in the default mode. Even in its sportiest setting, it's quick off the center, which is nice, but offers no feedback at all. You get used to it, but it's not engaging in the traditional sense. Well, the brakes are strong and well modulated with seamless regen integration. One pedal mode is available, but it's not as strong as you'd want it for our Indian day-to-day conditions. But you can use it eventually after you get over the small learning curve. The variant that we get in India is the single motor rear wheel drive version, which makes 268 brake horsepower and 343 Newton meters of torque. That means it goes from 0 to 100 in just over 5 seconds, 5.3 to be precise, which is quicker than the Golf GTI. And yes, this is a Volvo that is quicker than a GTI. But the thing is, it does not feel as wild as the GTI. It's linear, it is calm, and it is very collected because it feels like it's too grown up for its own good. But give it a set of corners and the EX30 reveals its real poise. You can feel the low center of gravity doing its job, but it's not a hot hatch per se because you can hear the tires protest, and if you push it too hard, there's genuine balance here, especially because one, it's a rear-wheel drive car. And in terms of the NVH levels, it's also whisper quiet. There's no wind noise to speak of. There's very little tire noise on the highway we are on, and the motor that prefers to remain in the background. So on a long highway run with cruise control turned on, you might just wonder why anyone still bothers with an internal combustion engine, because in small cars, you don't really need them anymore. Now in traffic and cities is where it really shines, because it's got a compact footprint. Even though they say it's an SUV, it's more like a large hatchback of sorts. It's got excellent visibility up front. The steering is super light, and the one pedal driving after you get over the learning curve is pretty much effortless to use. You can thread through traffic or wedge it through a tight parking spot without even breaking a sweat. It even feels premium in a way that you feel like you are in something that is clever, something that is designed rather than assembled for parts in a bin. It has presence. There have been people that have been turning around, looking at us, giving us waves, trying to figure out what this car actually is. and that's quite interesting. Now let's talk about the range. You get a 69 kilowatt hour battery pack. That's the only battery option that you get, and it's the extended range version that is available outside. And it shows 480 kilometers, but when we sat and started driving the car, we had around 94% charge, which indicated 380 kilometers. We had the AC on. It's a particularly hot day, and the no sunshade for the sunroof doesn't make it really easy on the AC. So we got around 380 kilometers, but in the real world on a hot day, using all the features on, all the sensors on, you can expect anywhere between 350 to 380 kilometers on a single charge. And that's with the iPedal mode. So it is recuperating a lot of the energy that we're using to accelerate. But having said all of this, my biggest complaint is the fact that there are a set of sensors that sit behind the steering wheel, monitoring my eyes, monitoring what I'm doing, and it will alert if I'm distracted or if I'm too tired or if it thinks I need to pull over and take a rest. But there's no heads-up display. So every time I'm driving on, say, a highway which has a speed limit with speed cameras, I'm always going to monitor the speed, and it only shows it on the infotainment touchscreen. So I always have to move my eyes and look over here, taking my eyes off the road, which is very counterintuitive. Now, if there is no instrument cluster over here, that's not a problem, but at least we should have had the heads-up display, so I don't have to do this all the time, which is my biggest complaint. Now, in terms of the tech, safety, and the annoyance, the EX30 is a Volvo, right? Which means it's trying to protect you from everything, including yourself. Because it gets collision avoidance, it gets cross traffic alerts, it gets adaptive cruise control, it gets something called as pilot assist, which will drive the car for you. It's got 360-degree cameras, and it's got a 5-star Euro NCAP rating. The problem is, some of it works too good for the Indian conditions. So it will brake a bit early if it thinks you're going to collide into something. But that's just Indian roads. Everyone is going to collide for European standard safety standards, right? Also, Volvo says that their UI has been updated over the air to make things easier. So you don't have to go to a Volvo service center to get your car updated. All of it happens over the air, and you can connect the car to a Wi-Fi hotspot like we have today, or later when customer cars are delivered, they will come with eSIM connectivity as well. But accessing all those safety and annoying features, and if you want to turn all of them off, you have to go through 4 sets of menus before you can access them and toggle them off, which is just complicated for no reason. Why can't we have just one set of physical buttons that we can just click somewhere over here? Because if this infotainment touchscreen stops working, all of it is gone, right? So why not just give us that one set of buttons, Volvo, like your older cars, like you used to do? So what is my verdict about the new Volvo EX30? Now, it is a rear-wheel drive electric SUV that rides and handles incredibly well, gives you a real-world range of around 350 to 380 kilometers on a single charge. And at the time of shooting this video, we're not aware of the prices, and I anticipate it to be between rupees 45 to rupees 50 lakh rupees at showroom. And at that price point, it goes up against the likes of the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and even the BMW iX1, which then becomes very hard to justify. While it might turn heads and it looks better, it drives better, it might be cleverer and more sustainable on the inside, but there are some annoying things like the user interface of the infotainment screen, the lack of buttons, and even the lack of rear AC vents. But it still makes me hopeful because this is a rather affordable electric SUV that feels like it's been made by people who actually care about you. But those are just my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments below. And if you have any additional questions of the new Volvo EX30, put them in the comments and we'll do our best to answer them. Having said that, thank you for watching BBC Top Gear India magazine, and we will see you next time.